something?
Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing? Kevin, I'm
Doing
glad that
good.
you're here.
All
Um,
right.
Patrick, Liz, great to see you.
Hey.
So, let me take just a moment. While I'm getting this set up, just introduce your characters again, just in case people forgot these.
Alright. Hi, I am Liz Doodles. I play Ray Rel, the Wood Elf Ranger.
I'm Attack Trick, go by Pat or Trick or whatever have you. I'm playing Soren. He is a human sorcerer.
All right. Rounding out the trio is myself, Kevin Hitt, playing Drew Anthony, a battle cleric who has spent some time in the field of war and is now on a top secret mission for the church.
We're on a mission from God.
We're the Blues brothers and sister.
The Blues family?
The Blues family. That's better. Blues Clues. There we go.
Well, every team of adventurers has to come up with a silly name for themselves eventually.
Exactly. I'm down.
Okay, so we've got our Roll20 up. And the reason we've got our Roll20 up is we ended in a very tight situation last time. I'll put the Roll20 up on screen in just a second. We ended in a very hairy situation last time because our folks found themselves in a strange new place, deep underground in this metal cavern with oily black metal and strange little widgets on all the surfaces and these strange glass containers with humanoids inside. It was not a cool situation for anyone. So, let's see, we've got the Roll20 up. Let's just get that set up, and then we will be good to start, I think. Okay, let's just plop that right in the middle. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Infinity.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The audio even went there.
Oh no. Well, don't worry. It's just because the program I use kind of formats the windows weird. So whenever I put this up, I have to reformat it, and it kind of just displays forever. But once I have the screen open, we're good. Okay, so the cave, if you can even call this a cave, is dark. It's oily. There's green fluids flowing through pipes from places you can't imagine to places you can't imagine. And the most notable thing that's happening right now, and probably the most pertinent thing, is you've got two gentlemen with white pallid skin and green goop oozing from their bodies, inching their way towards you ever closer. And this is, I'm not going to talk for you, but I'm probably sure that this is not very comfortable for either of your characters.
Nope.
It's a
And
positive experience.
no matter what you do, they seem to be making their way closer and saying nothing as they do so. So, I have to ask you all, how do you approach this?
Well, I have my swords drawn, and I'm just like waiting, see what they do.
Okay.
Did we retreat all the way to the door, the entrance that was locked?
Kevin, real quick, by the way, you're echoing quite badly.
Interesting.
I mean, it's a cave. You know it's going to echo, but it's a little shocking when we get to this level of realism.
Yes.
Yeah. You have a way to fix that?
We'll see. I'm in the same settings. I'll be back.
Okay, so Kevin's going to take...
What about now?
It's the same.
I don't know how I can be echoing, because I'm just on the same setup.
Do you have headphones on? So, like, is your mic...
I do.
Interesting.
Well, very same setup as last time.
That's very weird.
Alright. I'll type.
I'm not hearing it so much anymore. So
Okay.
Well,
maybe.
I think as long as you keep your voice low, it shouldn't be too bad, Kevin.
all right.
Alright, so Rayrell is just like chilling, like ready with her swords, not making any moves.
So the gentlemen shamble their way closer and closer and closer, and they don't make a single sound as they do so, aside from the gurgling of slime and the sound of slapping on the metal floor. And they...
That's lovely.
So next room then. Should we keep going? Or they'll be fine without us.
They will be fine without you. But they don't want to be without you. They want to be with you. They want to get right into that situation.
Oh, they want monster hugs.
Space right now. They're coming on a little.
At least buy us dinner first.
Well,
Otherworldly goop and slurping sounds.
So, you don't do anything about it, from what I can tell.
No.
Just leave. Just leave the situation. It's
just ollie outie.
Are there doors to be shut?
There's a hallway that goes down another path, but it's dark and at least you, Drew, can't see that far deep into it.
Gotcha.
So while you're doing this, and you're examining your different paths, all of a sudden one gets a very sudden bolt of speed and just lunges straight at Soren and goes directly for his throat. And I'm sorry to say, Soren, but you gotta roll for initiative on this one.
What do I need to roll now? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Give me an initiative roll.
We rolled last session.
Oh, we did. You're right. That's right. All of you are so much faster. But for this one, though, he does catch Soren quite by surprise, and before he can even act, the thing is on him, and it's trying to grapple his throat. So, with a 14 to hit, does he?
Normally he would, but I did cast mage armor before we came in, so he kind of grips at my loose robes and collar and everything, and then as he tries to bite, they're just kind of magically reinforced to be a bit firmer than they normally would be.
It's like a sort of purplish shield is enveloping you, and he sort of bites into this slippery surface, and you can see that as he bites into you, his tentacles sort of spread apart, and it's a beak that's making the bite at you.
Oh, okay.
So, I think the first one was Ray, yes?
Yep.
So,
Not friendly. They're not friendly.
Ray, you see this thing try to beak your partner, and it immediately goes in on you. What do?
I'm gonna swing my sword at him. Let's see. One's a natural 20, and the other one is a 19 to hit.
Okay.
Dang.
So, you jostle Soren for space and sort of shove him a little further back into the hallway. And as you do so, you bring both of your what was the second number?
The second one was a natural 20, and the other one was a 19.
Okay. So you just very naturally and very gracefully try to recover from how you've been performing before in combat and just gracefully slide them right into the thing. It's completely
So,
unprotected and completely awkward, and so you have no problem just sliding right in. It's almost a little too easy to slice into, like chicken that's been cooked too long. And the smell that comes out, terrible, just the worst.
So that is a total of 15 points of damage.
Mm-hmm. So as your blades go into this thing, it's a very elegant maneuver, really. And the thing is basically halfway severed. You chop it right in two, like a pair of scissors, and its lower half just completely stops moving and stumbles to the ground motionless. The other half, though, is very much alive and keeps moving towards you, trying to grapple at your legs.
Oh my god.
The hungry beaky half.
Mm-hmm. Oh, trust me, it's doing whatever it can to move forward. It's even using the little face tentacles to like sort of clamber on the floor if that's what it takes. So, Soren, what do you do about this situation? It's turned its attention from Ray and is clambering straight towards you. No, it's turned its attention from you and is clambering straight towards Ray. So what do? You have a moment of freedom to think.
It's. Are we all within like 5 feet of each other? It looks like.
We are all very close, yes.
Oof. So, so a 5 feet radius for myself would not be good for everybody. um, yeah, if it's just a shambling head or torso down on the ground, I'll pull out a dagger and try and just pin it down.
Okay. So, give me a number for that.
That's a 13 plus 5. That's an 18 to hit.
An 18? So this thing's not paying attention to you. And it looks like a nasty piece of carved up calamari. So you have no problem just taking your blade and while it's not looking and looking away from the other one, you just plop a dagger right into the back of the thing. So how badly have you damaged it?
A whole 4 points. Nice.
Okay. So it's not much, but you manage to, like a surprised child, sort of stab it a few times. You're not really trained with daggers, and you're not a very graceful fighter, but you can et tu brute it and just sort of stab aggressively downwards. So you make that motion, and you do a little bit of damage to the thing.
And then I'm just kind of like waving the dagger in my hand, trying to shake off some of the gross slurp or whatever is on it for this thing.
Okay, and then Mr. Drew. So this is all unfolding in front of you. You're a little bit behind Drew, and you can't quite jostle your way to the front. What do?
Is the top portion still moving?
The top portion is very much still moving, but it's not moving much.
Okay, well, Drew will step back and then cast his cantrip Sacred Flame on the top portion of the downed body,
Mm-hmm.
doing 1d8 damage of radiant fire.
Okay. So, and there's no save
One.
for this?
Wait, hold on. No, there's no save. Oh wait, maybe a deck save? Maybe, hold on. I think there might be a deck save.
I mean, that's your thing, knowing how these things work.
Okay, it's a 1, so I got 1 damage.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, 1. And you can make a saving throw, a deck saving throw.
Okay, this thing's not
As a
saving
DC.
on that.
Yeah, so you take 1, sir. You take 1 of fire.
So it's not
He does.
It's not an exceedingly powerful blast or anything really impressive, but the important thing about the little flame that you conjure is where it hits, and it's right in the top of the thing's skull, and it burns right through, like you dropped one of those pieces of molten lead or something that they use for getting through safes, and it just goes right through the thing.
Wow.
And with that, it stops moving, even though Drew may still, in fact, be stabbing at it. Also,
So I'm creating space. I've backed up so that those two can fight.
I think it might be that you have the stream open, and that might be the echo causer.
Usually, no.
But either way, despite whatever may be going on, there's still another zombie, and it very much lunges also at Drew, simply because he's the closest one. And its hands reach out to you, Drew, and let's see. So you said your armor was what again?
Drew or Soren?
Soren.
Yeah, I think it's Soren. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Soren. Soren is who is it lunges at?
With mage armor, I believe it's 16.
16. So this one lunges at you and grabs hold of your cloak, and it just latches on, and it refuses to let go. And it's just sort of grappling you in this tight embrace. It didn't do any damage, but it's on you, and it is busting through your mage armor as fast as possible. And that's no good at all, of course. But what's even worse is that thing you thought you killed is also trying to grab at your ankles, and it is still going. You're safe because your mage armor is holding out, but you are fully immobilized, and you cannot move.
Well, shit.
Soren, this is not good for you. But
I'm not enjoying this.
no, but it's not your turn. In fact, Ray, having now sliced the thing in half, has an opportunity to act once again, and she's at the ready.
Alright, I'm gonna swing my swords again at the one I divided last time.
Mm-hmm.
Just try to get him down.
Okay.
Oh no. Okay, so one of them's a natural 1,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is a 24 to hit.
Okay. So you sort of make a swing, but you miscalculate because it's a tight space, and it's like a submarine corridor, and you kind of accidentally stick your blade into the wall, and it's sort of jammed between two of the weird green ooze pipes. But your other hand, you declare maybe fuck it for now, and you let go of one sword, and you go in with the other and take a hard swing down on the creature as it makes its way on Soren's legs. So how badly do you hit it?
10 damage.
Okay. So you just wallop that thing and absolutely shatter its rib cage. And it seems to have slowed down for now and isn't moving again. Soren, what do you do with this little bit of a mosh pit you found yourself in?
I think Soren at this point just panics and he just starts trying to shake and just yells, "Off! Get off!" And his that gem he has starts to glow. And I apologize to my allies that are within 5 feet of me, but he's so panicked that he casts Word of Radiance, which is a cantrip that washes divine energy within a 5-foot radius of me. It needs or
Oh, good thing we're blessed.
yes, we are blessed.
So,
Oh, that's really good. I got a 25 for a con save.
and then Drew yourself?
Drew has rolled a 4.
Is that including your bless?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we'll take a 4.
Okay. So Drew, Soren, let's hear the numbers.
It's a healthy 2 points of radiant damage.
Okay. So
it's not too strong.
the
It's
creature
just kind of as a panic.
The creature is buckled back and it's thrown off you. It's no longer grappling you because the weird little white words that radiate out chaotically from you and smell faintly of wine hit the thing, and it does not seem to be a fan of it. Even if it isn't a hard hit, it definitely seems to be aggressively not a fan of what you've done. And the words are swarming around the thing and leaving burn marks all over its strange flesh. One of the words goes stray, though, and it hits Drew. And Drew, this isn't the first time you've been hit by pain from a divine source. You've been trained in this type of thing. So it hurts, but it's not bad. And it mostly just leaves little singe marks as it touches you.
Indeed.
I just scramble backwards as much as I can. Just sorry.
Like
sorry,
flat
sorry,
against
sorry.
the wall kind of thing?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So, Drew, this is sort of the burns you've received have surprised you and sort of roused you to action, and now you're ready to take the stage. What do you do?
Well, seeing as how his flame was able to dispatch one zombie, he's going to go back to the well once again, and we'll do 1 point of damage.
You're rolling like I did last week.
Wow.
Our cantrips are so good.
Yes. So one point of radiant fire.
Okay, so you notice that this thing doesn't seem to be a fan of the glowing words, and so you double up on that, and you cast what you know oh so well, a little ball of radiant flame. Just like the last one, it's very small and it's very targeted. This one targeted not so much at a vital point, though, and you burn its hand, and it, scoffs away for a moment, but seems relatively unshaken by the move. It once again lunges at Soren, and this time, Soren, your armor does not hold up. It cracks on through and breaks its beak right into what it tries to go for your head, but you're fast enough that it doesn't quite reach that. Instead, it beaks right into your shoulder with a very, very disgusting crunch sound it bites into you. and you take 6 points of damage.
Ooh.
And then you thought, okay, that wasn't so bad, but it's seeping that green goo from its mouth, and it falls into your open wound, and you take another extra point of acid damage as it burns what wound was opened.
Oof.
Ooh. For the record, I thought the first one was bad.
Okay, Rayrel, this is sort of shocking, and you're very worried for your friend now that he's been injured. What do you do to help him out?
I'm gonna swing. Is my other sword still stuck in the wall, or?
It is wedged in there. I will say with a bonus action you can get it out.
Okay, so that means I can only hit once. But, once is all I need. Okay,
Well, you still have unarmed strikes as a secondary weapon as well.
True. Okay, so... I'm going to strike with my one sword, punch him with my free hand, and then retrieve my sword from the wall.
What kind of punch are we looking at?
Just an unarmed strike.
Okay.
Just, welcome to Oerth.
What's the flavor text on it?
Punch him in the face.
Okay.
Okay, so the sword strike was a natural 20, and the unarmed strike is an 8.
Okay.
So, I'm assuming I don't punch, but I certainly slice the guy.
So you punch into him, and it sort of doesn't seem affected by it and just sort of looks up at you. But while it's doing that, it punches you, it looks up, and by the time it looks up, a sword hilt is moving very fast towards the thing. How badly is it hit by this?
16 points of damage?
Okay, so you absolutely floor this thing with that. The metal and the hilt of it bash into the creature's skull, knocking it towards the ground, and it's prone on the floor, barely moving after that. But it is still shambling and trying to get up. Soren, what do you do?
This thing is still.
It's still moving and it's still trying to get up.
And it's
Drew ducks.
Even it's Soren just grasping at his shoulder where this went in, just panics and tries to hurl a small chunk of fire at it and casts a firebolt.
Okay.
Which I think, since we're within 5 feet, it's going to be within disadvantage.
Okay.
So disadvantage, but still blessed, is just a 9 to hit.
Okay. Yeah, you do hit. So how bad is this burn that you've given this creature?
It's going to be a D10 of fire. So, 1. It is 1 point of fire damage.
So, with that, you poke another hole right in its robe. You nearly miss its vitals, but the thing is staggering and it's moving slow. And so, who else has a chance to act but Drew? But first, Rayrel, give me a dex save.
Dex save? Alright.
Yep.
Hold on. Oh boy. 10?
Okay, so after you pull your sword out, there's some gurgling sounds in the pipe, and you sort of hear, strange noises moving through the pipes. And to your surprise, some of the green goo that's caking these creatures blasts out of the pipe onto you, and it sprays all over your forearm, and it burns. It just burns. And you take 3 points of acid damage as your skin sort of bubbles, And it's right about where the old spider wound was, too.
God damn it.
The spider.
Fucking spiders.
Rayrel didn't have any sort of preternatural sense that danger might have been coming as a result of her spider wound.
Now, I've heard about the
If
Rayrel
only.
Spider-Man theory that you two keep making, and it's cute. I like it. But yes, so the thing is still moving, and Rayrel's hand is burnt, and her spider senses did not allow her to move in time. But Drew, you have a chance. What are you gonna get up to?
So Drew will once again try to not roll a 1 and throwing fire. Drew will throw fire. Let
Mm-hmm.
me bring back this. So seeing kind of that the thing is actually attacking and kind of scoring a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A 1. Drew will do 1 point of damage. Let me. Sure is the algorithm not just. Oh nope. Yeah, it's a 1. It's a 1.
No. I'm rolling real dice,
A
and my
one
cantrips are doing the
to
same.
hit or to do
One-
damage?
1 fire damage, sir. Madam
Okay.
Sorry,
So
I'm talking to people on the phone over here.
it's
Sorry.
not a whole lot of damage, and don't you worry too much. But where Soren managed to open up a chance for its vitals, you finish through with it, and you go right into the creature's chest, and its heart is burnt, and it stumbles to the ground. All right, Raybra, what do you do?
I'm going to swipe at the weird tentacle zombies with my sword.
Well, it stumbled
My
to the ground,
sword.
and it's not moving.
It's not moving.
Hmm.
So I'm just gonna stab it one more time just to be sure. Double tap.
Okay.
Just I'm gonna just swing my sword just once this time.
Okay.
Oh, that's a 9 to hit.
Hmm. Don't worry, this thing's very prone and very on the ground. You very much hit it.
Okay. Okay. So that is 10 points of damage.
Hmm. So, with one last breath, with one last move, you come over to the creature's chest and you drive your sword right into it. And your instinct was right, as it does make one final lunge at you as you drop your sword into it. But, luckily for you, your blade hit harder than its claws ever could, and your sword, you drive it in, and the creature is unmoving now as it finally stops moving, or finally stops making a move at you. So, I think it looks like the two creatures have stopped moving, and you're safe to go about.
Has
Did we-
anybody poked him with a stick?
I can poke them with my swords.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you just make sure they don't want to move anymore?
Yeah, I want to just nudge them with the sword just to double, triple check.
Give me a nature check, everyone.
A nature check? Okay.
Yes.
Let's see, 15.
Mm-hmm.
That's an 18. Yeah.
And yourself, Soren?
9.
Okay. So, while you're doing that, something sort of comes to your mind, not Soren, Drew, in that you know what these things are. Like, you've read about these things before. These are maybe not in their most prestigious form, but these are illithids. they're known for like stealing people's brains and committing terrible experiments and living deep in the Underdark. It's very. You remember reading about it once in one of the tomes in the Cuthbert Hall, specifically one labeled "Things Not to Be." Sir
That
Andrew Garth's
information.
"Things Not to Be."
I'll, Drew turns, kind of concerningly turns with that leading man look,
Mm-hmm.
raises an eyebrow, and says to, "We need to be very careful. This manner of being is well known throughout Oerth of experimenting on humanoids, and in particular, their psyche and their brain."
Good, good to know.
Keep your heads on your shoulders.
Right. Well, my shoulder's in a bit of a poor state right now, but I'll lean on the other one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's still bleeding. Keep in mind, like that was a wound and a half that he received.
What are you at, Soren? What are you at in terms of damage?
I am bloodied. I am.
Well, not any longer. Cure wounds will be cast upon my compatriot,
Mm-hmm.
and that will be a total of 9 points restored.
Ooh, thank you.
So yeah.
I'm starting to think this cave is not just a fun excursion anymore.
Well, now that you have
I have to agree.
now that you have a chance to sort of stop and view the place, like there's these strange sort of semi-biological looking capsules. There's tables arrayed out with tools of the trade for experimentation. There's the obviously quite large broken capsule in the center of the room. And then there's the two illithid bodies sort of mangled and splayed out across the hallway. It's quite a gruesome scene. So you have a chance to take a deeper look at that, or there's the dark hallway that goes down further to a place that you can't quite make out.
I think we should investigate this chamber with the pods first. Maybe we can find some clues or something useful for later on.
It seems sound.
Okay. Well, then, how do you go about this?
I'm going to carefully investigate the room.
Mm-hmm. So you sort of let's see. Give me what? Let's say a perception check, or yeah, perception. That's for looking for things.
Okay. Perception. Okay. 14.
Okay. So you scan about the place, and this is eerily biological, and you find quite a few bits and pieces. It looks like it had been recently inhabited, and what had been fiddled with had not been sitting out too long. You find this sort of green container, and it's got a preserved brain with little eyes looking right at you in it.
The brain has eyes attached to it?
Yep, little eyes attached right to it. You find,
Is that.
and this brain is floating in more of a bluish goo, and sitting next to it on the table are 12 vials carefully arrayed of the blue goo that the brain is floating in. And then you find 8 well-bottled little potions sort of sitting on the other half of the table. It looks like they were in the process of being refined, and so aren't quite done.
Okay, so I think I'm going to take the 8 potions.
Mm-hmm.
And was it 12 vials of blue goo?
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll take those because like part of our mission was to like bring back anything that we found, and I think this might constitute that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm
and
absolutely tapping on, just tapping my finger on the brain jar.
Don't don't tap on the glass.
it
We don't know what that is.
little bubbles go up, and there's like sort of a weird humming that comes from it, but it doesn't seem to attack you or make any movements towards you.
I mean, I think it likes it. It's responding in its way.
It's just going. Like a little
I
buzzing
am not
sound.
touching that.
Does this little workshop strike you as something that those shambling creatures could have been operating themselves?
Maybe? I mean, one of the pods is open. There might be a third, whatever the fuck these things are, somewhere.
I mean, apart from the biting and the eating, which they seemed quite skilled at, fine motor control seemed a little bit beyond them.
True.
Keep in mind as well that it does seem like there was some sort of struggle or something had gone awry in this room, as there is broken instruments all over the floor, like little bits of glass and whatnot. And of course, there's the culprit of the large broken pod.
So maybe the broken pod, whoever was in there, got out and attacked whoever was working in here. Another way out of here.
Does
Because that door's locked. We're not getting out.
does the brain just watch? I'm still just like staring at it, trying to figure out why it's here.
It doesn't seem to watch, it just seems to, like a sort of computer, just sort of respond to stimulus. It doesn't make any movements or show any signs of intelligence, just sort of responding with a simple sound when you touch the glass.
Drew is going to walk to it.
Mm-hmm. The glass?
And yes, and put his hand on it.
Okay. You feel like, have you seen those big geodesic spheres with like the electricity pulsing inside?
Oh, indeed.
Yes.
You feel like a very, very slight buzzing in your hand, sort of warmth.
And Drew will turn. If something happens, tackle me away from this glass. And he'll put his other hand on it.
You get a
Anything
slightly
happens?
more intense, but it's still just a very gentle buzzing sensation.
Okay. Then Drew will remove his hands and step back, contemplating what this all means.
I mean, if this is where you choose to take a rest, you can take a rest here. And if you have, any initiatives you want to take, you can take them now.
I think since we can't go back the way we came, we have to find another way out of here. And there's one other path besides the one that led us in here. So perhaps we just continue with some caution and maybe we'll find a way out or someone who can help us get out.
As Rayrel says caution, Soren is kind of like shaking the jar a little
Leave
bit.
the jar alone, Soren.
It there's a more of a distressed if any emotion can be drawn from it, it's a slightly distressed
Okay. If it doesn't like it, I'll stop.
So Drew immediately unsheathes his mace
Mm-hmm.
and is looking at the glass with the brain in it.
Mm-hmm.
And Drew will turn to his compatriots. I am not sure I want that thing to be around. Maybe it is communicating with others. Maybe it is giving away our position. Why it is still alive and still reacting, I say we take all the notes we can and then we destroy it.
I guess.
I mean, keep in mind, this is definitely something that is way out of the scope of what either Ray or Soren has seen before, and it is distinctly alien.
Yeah, but it's in goo, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to assume, and Drew turns. It seems logical that if this is this being, it appears it needs this liquid to survive. And if it does, I would like to remove said liquid. And so Drew's going to look for any sort of spout, any sort of like, plug that he can pull or
Mm-hmm.
cajole loose to see if,
It has a little spigot near the top that seems like it was used originally to fill the container with it.
right, but no exit for the liquid
No exit.
that he can see.
No, this appears to be some sort of more permanent containment.
And how is Drew able to reach over the top or not?
You can open it up and reach inside if that's what you mean.
Yeah, so Drew, stand by. And Drew's gonna open the top.
Okay. Well,
Just
a
a
delightful
couple of
smell.
inches.
A delightful smell greets you, and the
Whoa.
mmming gets a little bit louder.
Soren takes like 2 big steps backwards.
and, and Drew turns and says to Rayrel, if I wasn't a holy man, I may want to poke this thing a couple times with the sword. Kind of joking, but um, he is going to examine the blue liquid.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to open the top and he's going to put the very tip of his mace in it.
Okay. Well.
Like, I mean, I'm talking like just the very spike point at the
Mm-hmm.
top of the.
Well, from the smell, it as a holy man, this is kind of a smell you recognize. Actually, it smells like embalming fluid. You know, just a lovely smell, of course, but like it's
Yeah.
one you recognize.
And Drew's still a little nervous because this is an alien territory. So he's gonna just put the drop of the blue liquid on, and one of the wherever he can on the side of the glass, and he'll just touch it with his finger and smell it, just to make sure it's not gonna pop
Um,
or fry his finger off.
no check required. This is definitely embalming fluid.
Outstanding. So Drew turns once again. This is nothing more than an embalming fluid. And I do
Oh,
believe it is what's keeping this entity alive. My question to you both: why is the entity still alive if one of these creatures was able to escape or leave of their own free will?
Perhaps then we shouldn't kill it? And they were left alive.
I think that is wise counsel for now.
I mean, it's on a table full of. It's only responding when we do things to it. It may just be a tool to them.
I mean,
Does
maybe.
Does it look human? Does the brain look humanoid?
It looks like something you've seen in humans, but
Okay,
brains
so
tend to not be too different among the sentient creatures.
right. So I mean, but like the brain isn't like a huge B movie horror flick brain.
No,
It's
this is definitely something that could go right inside of Drew's skull.
okay. All right. Well, and are there any devices in said room that looks like it was designed to communicate with this thing?
Um, not that you know of, but you do know this much about illithids is that they have very strange telekinetic powers. So, like, you wonder, would they even need such a device?
Indeed. I would say for us non-tele people. Um. Okay. Well, Ray Rail, I think that counsel is sound. Although a part of me thinks that this is a tortured creature that has been taken and has been being talked to and or used for experimentation.
That is a possibility. I don't feel comfortable just leaving them here. Perhaps we bring them with us?
I think it is too bulky to carry if we have to fight once again. Let's mark the location and just remember where it is, and perhaps we will come back.
Okay.
And with that, Drew will sheath his mace and kind of stand down from his nervous posture
Mm-hmm.
and prepare to march through the hallways once again.
Okay. Soren, Rayrel?
Uh, yeah, I'm ready to move forward. There's not much else here.
Okay.
I took the 8 potions and the 12 vials of goo.
Which you now know to be embalming fluid.
Yeah, but who knows? It might come in handy later.
Hmm. You never know when you have to embalm something these days. Okay. So it's strange as you make into the second room. It feels even more supernaturally dark than the others so far. But you see something before you. A large blue pool of water, and it goes down deep to somewhere you can't quite identify. At the
Is
other end
it?
of this little circular room is another steel door, but this one does not seem to be heavily and artificially locked like the others are. The pit of water in front of you is making strange, sort of deep sounds. If any of your characters have seen whales, it's comparable to that. And then on the left side of the room, there's a hallway that goes down further to somewhere you can't quite identify.
Well, I say we go down the open hallway.
Does Rayrel... Okay.
Unless someone objects.
Rayrel, uh, real quick, you take 1 point of psychic damage suddenly as it feels like a bolt of lightning hits you inside of your own head. Nothing visible, but it's like you've got a spike of a massive migraine.
Will we see her kind of buckle at the knee or anything as this
Yeah,
happens?
she's definitely like it's like, she stubbed a toe or something. There's notable pain. Nothing major, but you can tell it's discomfort.
Drew looks at Rayrell and just kind of with a questioning face.
Everything all right?
Who said that?
Just a
Wait, Soren, was that you that said that?
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't hurt, but you feel a mental jolt go down your spine as well.
Drew puts his finger to his lips as a shush kind of command. And we'll back out of the chamber the same way we came in.
Mm-hmm. So you're back in the hallway.
Yeah, saying, with his hand kind of beckoning the two.
Okay. So you're back in the hallway now. What do you folks do?
Well, Drew is looking at both of them saying, did something happen when you spoke?
Yeah, I got a surge of pain in my mind, like a headache.
I had a bit of a chill down my spine.
All right. Stay behind me. Let's not speak. I'll peer once into the water to go through the hallway to the left.
Yes.
Well, does that door look like the same type of door we came in?
Madam DM? Does the door on the far side of the...
It looks much lower security.
Okay.
It doesn't have
In that case,
the
probably
intricate
not.
tentacle locks that the entryway did.
In that case, probably not connected to the outside, so let's avoid that.
All right, follow me. And so Drew, in a slow but deliberate, not trying to be stealthy, but trying to be a little bit more quiet than normal, not walking around like the Scooby-Doo gang. We're gonna go ahead and I'm going to go up to the water and just peer into it quickly, see what I can see, and then we will take the hallway to out west.
So, it's a very strange sight that you see before you. It's deep, and the water goes down for what seems to be 20 feet. Like a giant well, but this one is 15 feet across. And the water smells putrid. And you see what first appears to just sort of be strange, like black shapes, like a mass of eels in the water. But then it dawns on you that this giant, black, disgusting mass, it's a giant brain. And yeah, it's emitting, strange whale-like sounds. It's almost kind of sad in a little way. It definitely, whatever these noises are, and if you can extrapolate anything from them, it's a mixture of sadness and pain.
Is the brain large?
It's enormous. It will easily 10 feet across.
Jesus.
the water embalming fluid?
It doesn't smell like embalming fluid. It may have been tinged with it, but it doesn't seem to be that in its entirety.
Reroll's just gonna motion toward the hallway, because nope. No.
The hallway out or the hallway deeper in?
Hallway deeper in.
Okay. Drew, Soren, what is your take on that?
Soren is going to fight his instincts and continue to walk quietly as instructed.
Well, what was his instinct saying?
I mean, just his instinct, not so much with the brain, just his instincts to always be talking and filling silence. He's a chatterbox.
Okay, I thought for a moment he was tempted to jump in the water and swim with it like Free Willy. Okay, so you head towards the hallway on the left? Okay. So, this one continues for a long way, and there's some strange peculiarities to the room, but it's not as far as the original laboratory was. That was quite a ways away. So, you can still sort of hear the weird humming of the brain in the distance, but it's much, much more quiet now. But this room, it seems to be some sort of jail, as multiple cells sort of line the wall, and they all seem to be left very, very empty long ago. So the prison bars sort of spiral out like a Viking shield's design has, and much like the rest of the building, this room has that horrible aversion to straight lines that the whole facility has had so far. Now, clearly there was some sort of brutal struggle here, but you can't really see anything of the victims aside from, very gentle smears on the wall. Compared to the rest of the place, as you get into this little prison room, it's eerily quiet, and aside from the smears, is much cleaner compared to the rest of the place. There's a glowing panel on the back of the room, and it only has a couple simple controls on it.
I'm going to take a closer look at the cells, see if there's anything in them.
There is definitively nothing in them. It has been ripped clean.
Okay.
Aside from those little smears on the wall, nothing is in there.
Okay.
Soren is approaching the flashing lights.
Of course he is.
Anything shiny, Soren?
Oh, not so much. Not so much shiny as bright. In sharp contrast to the rest of this ship.
Right. Yeah.
There's 3 buttons there.
Tell me more about these buttons.
Well, there's a red one, there's a yellow dial, and then there's a purely metal black one.
The dial. I'm messing with the dial.
Okay. So, you pull the dial all the way.
Turning it left if it'll go left.
So, from the entryway of the room, you can hear like a hatch is being pushed by pneumatic tubes, open and shut and open and shut.
those could be good sounds, right? Perhaps that's the door opening.
Perhaps. Maybe I can make my way over to the door
Mhm.
in the other chamber to see if it had moved at all. Just carefully make my way over there.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything too strange. It's weird though. It's kind of. It feels hard to. You get to a point where it's hard to move through. Sort of like a heavy wall, or like a piece of rubber has been stretched across the hallway, but you can't quite make it out anything. And you notice a floating skull and some floating pieces of metal sort of just suspended a couple inches off the ground in front of you.
I'm gonna go back to the group.
Okay.
Now, did Soren crank this all the way to the left, or did what you were describing happen, just moving it a little bit?
This happened just moving it a little tiny bit.
It's while Rayfrell is gone, he's just getting antsy and kind of just gradually nudging it a little bit more,
Okay.
like a kid, like fidgeting with it.
Mm-hmm. Do you touch any of the other buttons?
Not yet.
And then Drew, what are you up to?
Drew is nervously watching Soren.
Someone should be.
Yes, getting ready to pull him by the scruff of his neck if something dumb happens.
Yeah.
But basically, I'm just in a ready position.
Nothing too strange seems to happen.
All right. So yes, Drew is just anxiously expecting something.
No, nothing too weird seems to be happening. It all seems pretty okay. But yeah, Rayrell, there's like a wall, and you just can't get through it.
Alright. I'm heading back to the group.
Any such luck, or should I keep twisting further? I can keep twisting.
I don't know. I can't get back to the brain chamber.
Okay, I'll go a little further then. No matter what answer, he just wanted to keep going further.
So, you know, as he turns the dial further, Rayrell, you can feel like yourself getting pushed by like a soft, sort of stretchy surface pushing you forward. And hey, it's that skull again, floating off the ground. Much closer this time, and right behind Rayrell.
Guys, I think we have company.
Drew will immediately spur into action, following Rayrell, going to her.
So, you're there as well. And, yeah, the strange rubbery wall just seems to be pushing forward, sort of, and this room is a dead end, so it'll eventually push all the way to the edge of the room.
So other way then on the dial? Should I try the other way?
Yeah, try the other way.
I crank it all the way to the right.
Okay, so the stretchy wall recedes, but you can still see the skull floating off the ground a ways back and sort of stopping exit from the room.
What in the 9 hells is going on?
I don't know, but it smells like a little bit like the green goo.
Oh no.
Maybe I should have been putting pressing them together, and I'll press the red and black buttons together.
Okay. When you press the red
That's
one,
very
the cells open up and the cages are open to entrance now. And then when you press the black button, you notice that basically spikes jute out inside of the now empty cells.
Oh, fun. These ones seem a little more clear with what they do, at least.
All right.
I'll hit the black button to recede the spikes.
Mhm. And they recede.
Drew is gonna march up to the jelly wall or whatever,
Mhm.
jelly donut.
Okay.
He's gonna stand right in front of it
Okay.
without touching it at this point and just examine. I mean, does it appear like that it's shimmering, moving?
Well, on a closer examination, it's definitely a little shimmery. It's a very see-through substance, though. It's impressive at how well it camouflages itself. And it doesn't seem to be, moving in any notable way, aside from jostling around the contents that are already inside of it.
What do I see inside of it?
Fully dissolved skeletons, pieces of metal, things like that.
This looks like an oversized Roomba. Looks like it wants to clean out human. I'm gonna turn and go get Ray Rail.
Okay, so you come back in, Rayrel. Drew's up next to you. What do you do?
Well,
I look at him. It's like,
Ray Rail,
yes.
this thing, I think it's dangerous. I mean, obviously there are human remains inside a moving object.
Yeah. I think we should go try that door. Maybe we can unlock it somehow. But I think this that thing Soren's playing with is mostly for this area.
Well, I don't think there's any escape without dealing with this thing. I do not see another way out.
Okay, we'll just have to cut through it then.
Okay.
Let me experiment first,
Okay,
but be ready to fight.
always.
Drew will start forward
Mhm.
and he's going to maybe one more back. He's gonna light a torch.
Okay. And you can tell as you light the torch, the slime sort of recedes around it, like it actively does not want to be part of that substance.
Yeah. I'm going to try to wave said torch to see if it will back up and let us out.
It
Without
backs up.
touching it at first.
Yeah. It basically forms a perfect like archway, like a little door as it sees the fire, and it seems deeply uncomfortable with it.
Follow me. So
Alright.
Drew will walk.
Mm-hmm.
Drew will walk with the torch,
Mm-hmm.
but he will go to the other side of it, but he'll leave the torch like with his arm extended in the archway.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, all three of you, if all three of you are coming, manage to get
Yep.
through the creature like this. And Drew, take an inspiration for figuring out a non-violent way through an encounter.
I thank you, Madam DM. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
very much. Point of inspiration. All right. Yeah. So Drew is just very analytical right now, trying to figure things out,
Mm-hmm.
but doesn't say a word. He puts his finger back up to his lips
Mhm.
and points at the door that's north, and then walks towards it.
It's not locked. You can get through it. It's not locked.
Alright, so Drew is going to put his hands up, and he's gonna like put one finger up, then two fingers up, then three fingers up, and then give them a thumbs up. And then he goes, he'll put one, he'll put two, he'll put three, and then he opens the door.
Okay. And so you cross into this next room, and the hallway through, you notice not white bodies like you saw before, but like purplish bodies just sort of splayed against the hallway, uh, looking like rib cages displayed and heads blown off and all that terrible thing. Like there had been some sort of great struggle here.
Okay.
And then in the hallway ahead, you can spy what appears to be some sort of cross between a kitchen and an experimentation room. There's sort of a bunch of mutated rat-like creatures in a cage in the room, and then there's a flare, sort of like the one you saw before, but looking nowhere near as haggard as the ones from the green slime, and in much finer and more fancy regalia than them as well. And the creature's sort of mindlessly pawing at this sort of at a at a door like the one you came in through. It hasn't noticed you yet, and it's just mindlessly pawing. And there's I think that's about all I need to establish this.
So even though it looks a bit fancier, a bit different, its mannerisms seem the same as the first couple that we encountered.
I mean, it's definitely more attentive and seems to be more coherent of what's going on.
Hmm.
Well,
Perhaps we can try talking with it?
no.
Hmm.
Drew just rushes out to try and skull bash this thing.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Drew, you walk forward and
I sprint.
you sprint forward. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Give me a attack check then.
All right. So here we go. Drew's going to sprint forward with his mace and try and club this thing in its dome.
Okay.
So here we go. And that would be a 19.
Okay, so you just rend right into this thing, and while it's pawing, it doesn't even have a chance to notice you before you send it sprawling across the ground.
Yes.
And there were definitely some nasty crunches that were heard in that thing as you just laid into it. And how much damage was that?
That's gonna be 8 points of skull crushing damage.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah. So yeah, there are just definitely some weird cracks and nasty sounds of like spluttering as you hit this thing, and it splayed out over the ground. Went from being the number one pacifist to being truly the most violent and aggressive move you could have taken in that situation.
Hey, I have no mental defenses.
Yeah, I'm not.
And these things are freaking evil. So yeah, nope.
You know what? I don't blame you per se.
Yeah, I know what these things can do. They catch one of us off guard, we're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
destroyed. So yeah, so Drew, with his surprise round, sprints, does 8 points of damage to this thing, swinging at its dome,
Mm-hmm.
ready to just keep hitting it into submission if it's not dead.
Okay. Well, the thing is splayed out over the ground, and it doesn't seem to be moving.
All right, then he'll cantrip its face with fire.
Okay.
Just a little "you better be dead" kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, give me a number on that.
It's gonna be a face fire damage.
Mm-hmm.
And there we're at.
How much damage you do?
4. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. So you bash this thing, send it sprawling across the floor, and then you light it on fire.
Yes.
And it seems to be still for a moment, and then its hand holds the one of the experimentation tables that was there before, and it flips it over with unbelievable strength, just picking up the entire thing and tossing it into a wall nearby. And
Oh,
then,
okay.
before you can even know what's going on, it reaches around and grips a claw onto your throat, slashes as hard as it can, and then
Okay.
kind of drop kicks you almost.
Ooh, little Hulk Hogan action.
Yeah. So, luckily for you, though, you are wearing chainmail, because otherwise that would have been an extremely bad claw mark on your neck. But your chainmail manages to block it, but the drop kick does hit you. You take a good knocked out of breath as you stumble against backwards and bash into the cage with the experimental creatures on it. And so now those are out as well, and they just absolutely swarm the ground the moment they get thrown out onto the ground.
All right.
And now let's have some initiative.
Let's go.
Doogie.
Let's go.
Oh, that's a natural 20 with a 24 total.
Mm-hmm.
My dice are behaving today. They weren't earlier this week.
Yeah.
And Drew comes in with a 15.
That's a 13 for Soren.
Okay, and then yep, okay. Okay, so Ray, you're the first to take notice of this situation, and you see all these sort of rat creatures with their brains exposed, skittering about everywhere. And it does appear, yes, they do have scorpion tails instead of regular tails, and they're
Their
just
brains
flooding
are
the room.
exposed.
They are panicking and they don't know what to do, and they're lashing out at whatever's closest. There's a bunch of tiny ones that don't seem to be too much of a concern, but there's two ones about the size.
Be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That Illithid was the one friendly one in the whole complex.
Hey, we're back.
Okay.
And we're
Excellent.
back. All right. Madam
Wow.
GM, welcome back to the stream.
That's an epic little move, isn't it? Yeah, you can just get dropped anytime because it doesn't tell you when your battery's about to die.
You are muted.
That's
I
okay.
can't hear her.
What, me?
Madam DM, your mic is muted.
God damn. Do I have to recalibrate everything? Hello? Hello? Oh, it should be coming through okay. Let's see. Do I need to... No, you can't hear me nothing? Really? It says I'm getting an input. Huh.
Where are my snacks?
This break brought to you by Brain Buckets.
Fuck you, Acer.
What's a fight without wearing your brain bucket?
Yeah.
Don't let anybody
Might
take
I
your
say,
brain
again,
buckets.
fuck you, Acer. So all of you can hear me, yes? But I'm muted on stream. That's the issue?
I think she's still talking, but I can't hear her.
Oh my god.
Talk.
Oh,
Hello, you can all hear me, yes?
Oh, well,
now
now
we can.
Welcome
Yeah.
back.
Am I coming through on stream?
Hold on.
Oh,
Yes, you are.
and I can be heard,
We are
yes?
good to go.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, we are
In
all
all the
good.
realm.
Okay, sorry about that. You know,
It happens.
laptops.
Hey, we made it an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We made it an hour and a half into the show before it went to...
Yep. Okay, so let's resume. We were in a situation. Drew had just been drop kicked. Scorpion rats are now filling the room and skittering about. Ray Ralph
Scorpion brain.
is ready to fight. And what does she do?
Well, the room's too small to use my bow, which at this point, why'd I even come on this trip if I can't use my bow?
Right?
So I'm gonna slash with my swords because that's all I can do.
Well, you can always get really inventive with how you fight. Like, you know, throw a kick in there, overthrow a table. You know, tavern fight.
I tried punching an alien.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that was because I lost my sword.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna strike with my swords at one of the rats.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And
so
let's see.
give me a number on
Okay, so one is 22 and the other one is 24 to hit.
that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get both of them.
Yeah. All right. Okay, and then let's see. 16 points of damage.
Okay. So you know what's going on. This is nothing. You've dealt with wild animals before, even if they aren't quite the wild animals you're normally used to. So don't even worry about it. You take the two lead big boys, you slash off the heads quick as you can, like you've practiced with, getting game before, and they're down. They're completely not an issue. And don't worry about it. So, Soren, what do you do?
Ooh, is it my turn already? I thought I was last.
Oh, yes. That's right. So, Drew, you've got the breath knocked out of you, and you're down in the dumps right now. And this thing is unrelenting, and it immediately pounces right back onto you. And, what's your armor looking like?
Armor class of 18.
Okay, so don't worry though, your armor is strong as heck. So this thing, even though it tries to slash into you and tries to beak you with its little fang, you seem to be mostly okay and unaffected by its attacks on you.
All right.
Um,
Am I up
yeah,
now? Am I up?
yeah, so this thing's on top of you, you're on a busted cage. It's a bit of an awkward situation, but you're okay.
Well, doing my best Hulk Hogan impersonation, I'm going to put my finger up in the air and wave it as I get up struggling, and I'm going to take my mace with a two-handed underswing, try and hit this thing and where the pills would be of any normal humanoid.
Ooh. Alright, let's see how bad that is.
Let's see, and the roll.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a 19.
Oh wow, yeah, you just fucking lay into this thing. A heavy swing coming right between, not quite its genital. Oh wait, yes. Apparently, whatever it has down there, you have firmly hit it.
Yep. Boom.
And how bad is
8
it?
points.
What is it?
8.
8. So you absolutely floor this thing, knocking it onto the ground once again, and it is knocked prone. And now, Soren, what are you up to? There are small rats with scorpion tails running around your feet.
Oh, they're still small. Ah.
Yeah, but these ones are so small they're not going to hurt you.
Right, that's not suspicious. Soren, since it seems, I think that Illith had got kind of kicked over and there's tables being thrown around. I don't have the greatest view of him, but with all the other weirdness going on that we've encountered so far, I'm gonna go over to the two big rats that are supposedly dead and just kind of light them on fire just to make sure they stay that way.
Okay. No check for that. That's basically a cantrip. So you set the dead bodies ablaze, and they smell just wonderful as they burn. I mean,
these ones aren't coming back.
Today's been just a lovely day for smells and sights for all of your characters. Rayrel, what do you do?
It's my turn again?
Yep.
I took care of the rat. I guess I'll go after Cthulhu over there. With flanking with Soren.
Okay.
Or
with Drew. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You're on the other side of the thing. And now what you do?
I'm gonna swing my sword.
Okay. I swing my sword
prone,
in the air sometimes. Okay.
Alright, let's see. Ooh. Okay. Let's see. One is a 15 to hit, and the other one's a 22 to hit.
Okay. So this thing, don't even worry about it. It's like a knife through butter. These things ain't got tough skin. Don't worry about it. You slice right into it. It goes through like a hot knife through things hot knives go through quickly. So how badly you heck this thing up?
Let's see. 15.
15. Okay, so yeah, don't worry about it. You just lop this thing into two pieces. It's just dropped right down immediately, and there is no more struggle from it. Its head is been removed from the bod.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm going to cantrip fire his face.
And you do that without too much struggle.
No movement?
No movement. But yeah, this seems to definitely be what was their chop shop, in that there's pieces of bodies lying about. There's knives, bone saws all over the tables that are around. It looks like the creature you'd been fighting, up until recently at least, had been snacking on one of the remaining human corpses that was down here.
So I'm glad I bashed its skull
in. Although on closer inspection, that is not a human body that the thing it was feeding on. It was feeding on orc flesh.
Oh, still, I bet you would eat whatever was available.
Man. And yeah, there was another one of those loose doors that it seemed to have been pawing at. And this one also does not seem to have been locked up in any notable way.
Which way? Rayrel, where are the rats going? They may know an exit. It's you on a sinking ship. You followed them off.
I thought I killed them.
You killed the big ones. I thought that there were a bunch of tiny ones.
Yeah, there's tons of tiny ones that are really too small to be of any danger.
Do they seem to be making a beeline in any
They
direction?
seem to be in utter chaos. They're going whichever way they can. Some are crawling into the pipe systems. Some are making their way towards the giant water pool that was down below. And some are trying to weasel their way under the pretty airtight, to be honest, doorway.
Can I watch those rats go into the water pool? I'm curious about that. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, you
If
can.
we've got willing test subjects going into that water.
Yeah, you silently walk over and see them, make their way around it. The ones that do squeak do seem to fall over dead.
Ooh. I'm going to investigate the table
Mm-hmm.
and just to see if there's anything of use.
There is a very devilish looking dagger that was used for cutting up humans. There is a blood covered bone saw, and there are quite a few small scalpels. And that's about it for, things that would be interesting to you. There's like, your average surgical equipment, but those don't really seem to serve much of a purpose.
I want to take the weird dagger.
Okay. It's a weird surgical like dagger, but it seems horrendously sharp, and you don't quite have a scabbard to put it in. So where do you put it?
I'm gonna wrap it with like a spare shirt and just like
Oh, with all the
stick
fluids.
it in my bag. I can do laundry later.
That's
Just gonna like
that's fair. I'm just giving you a hard time.
just gonna wrap it with a spare shirt and just stick it in my pack until I can
Okay.
get a sheath for it or find use for it.
Okay. And Drew, what are you up to post battle?
Drew is examining the door once again.
Uh,
And,
seems to
trying
have
to.
mostly been blasted off its hinges.
So can I see down the hallway then?
Yeah, it's airtight. And
Good.
it seems at the end of it, you can see another small kind of, only about 3 feet tall, but it's like a hatch on a submarine, sort of directly into the wall.
All right. Well, Drew's going there.
Okay. The hatch isn't locked either, and you can pull it open.
He will do so.
And when you open it, you see something you've wanted to see for a while: daylight.
Soren, Raywell, the exit is here.
Oh, thank goodness.
I will. Drew turns to the group. I'm going for the brain.
What?
I'm going for the brain.
Oh,
Why?
take it with us.
Yes.
Oh, okay, the one in the jar, not the big one in the pool.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
So Drew just starts marching
Mm-hmm.
quietly as can be. No talking, no words.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gonna go pick up the brain and go back to where he came from and exit through that area.
Okay. Yeah, you pick up the kind of heavy brain jar.
Yeah. So we'll try to.
Yep, you got it right in your hand. And boy, is it humming up a storm now.
Well, I'm gonna try to communicate.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And I'll speak to it. Can you talk to me?
it just makes humming sounds. Although, as you walk it through the room with the giant one, it definitely seems like there's a sort of sound of longing, like a like a buzz, and it sorts with what limited movement it can make. Its eyes are watching the big one it makes as you make your way through.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna look at this thing. I mean, am I getting the feeling it wants to be reunited with this thing?
Yes. It looks at you, and whatever
Then by all,
whatever emotion can be conveyed by severed eyeballs and a floating brain, it's looking at you.
Also, the eyeballs aren't even attached to the brain with like nerves or anything. They're just floating.
No, it's mostly just like telekinetically connected.
okay, I'm going to say, Drew's gonna. It's gonna sound strange.
Mm-hmm.
Do I put you in to the water, vessel and all, or just you? Move your eyes up for just you, down for all of it.
It moves its eyes up.
I'm freaking out at this point. Like, holy shit. This thing just fucking talked to me.
And we're not even there to witness
Yeah.
it.
Man, I love Drew's new child.
So,
Brain baby.
yeah, I'm just vessel and all, right? That was the choice.
No, it said the eyes up one.
Okay,
So
so
just dump it into the pool.
I will just simply say, if you can understand me, may Cuthbert be with you. I will set you free. And as gently as I can, I'm not just gonna turn it over and dump it in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of gonna use the lip of the thing to gently pour it in, so it doesn't, hit water and
Mm-hmm.
get all messed up.
Kind of like when you put a new fish into a tank.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I will release this brain.
As you let it in,
Water.
it moves somewhere between like a cell with the little hairs on it and a jellyfish, and
Yeah.
it sort of eagerly swims down to the bottom. And a couple seconds later, you get that same brain waves that were hurting you later, but this one feels warm and doesn't hurt.
Interesting. So I'm going to kneel,
Mm-hmm.
offer a prayer to Cuthbert, hoping that these aren't evil entities and that they may, seek whatever peace they need. And then I will stand once again and leave.
Mm-hmm. Love can bloom in strange places. But yeah, so anything else you guys do?
Search the room for anything and everything and then bounce.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
just pieces of bone, pieces of cloth, bone saws and scalpels are pretty much all you can find in this space. And then
That's what's happening.
as you make your way out, it's getting towards the evening, and it's not too hard to find your way, tracing back your steps, but from the outside back to camp. And your stuff seems to be okay.
Wow.
Soren,
Yes?
do not go through any weird doors.
Is the weird door still here, or did it disappear like it did on the other side?
No, the weird door is still pretty there.
I mean, do you think it goes to the same place still?
I do not want to find out.
Well, Drew looks at them both and will say, this place may come in handy at some point in our lives. Let's try to note where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
If we ever need a place to retreat to, perhaps this is it.
I mean,
Fair enough.
So
we
I'm going
anywhere-
to, yeah. So I figure I would like to, stay and recover from, the 3 hit points of damage I took,
Mm.
and try to, do everything I can to know where this place is in case I ever want to come back.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you have a
You said we have a rough map?
you have a rough map, so you can note that it's in the the southwest part of Aborals.
Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll mark it.
Mm-hmm.
We have our own superhero base, guys.
That's what you can call it.
If we need it.
That's one way to phrase it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it still may be that brain's base at this point.
There's
still
they like us.
Still a current occupant.
They like us at this point.
I mean, so one thing you do remember as you've been reflecting over it is mind flare colonies tend to have a sort of central brain as its leader, a sort of elder brain. And so, from what you can tell, you met the elder brain, and
Wow.
you met it though after what were essentially its people, its children to shepherd, had been slaughtered. So
Wow. Well, there we have it.
you met it at a strange time.
So we have, we have some street cred with this brain. That's what I'm thinking. Regardless, let's note the location of this.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
shall we rest and heal and then carry on?
Yeah, we still have quite a ways to go to
Indeed.
get to the comet.
Mm-hmm.
So has this been here the whole time? Did this come with the comet? I mean, that's...
If it's in the mountains, I doubt it. Maybe it's been here for a while.
I mean, we don't know. Did we? I don't think we saw a bottom to that. We don't know where that water connects to.
Thought he said the
Or
brain.
did we?
Did the brain say anything to me? No, the brain did not say. Madam DM, did we notice the depth of the pool?
Yes, I said it was about 20 feet. Kind of hard to tell.
Oh, there we go.
Very deep,
Okay.
but
So such.
like a well.
So the brain just moved to a bigger jar.
Yes. Yes.
So we shall rest and continue towards the comet.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I'm with you.
imagine this, Drew, is you can talk to someone over Wi-Fi, right? And that's essentially what those two brains can do. But it's a very different matter entirely being with someone in person.
Yeah, of course.
Mm. And with that sort of existential moment taken care of, you begin your journeys southeast once again. And
Yep.
days pass and your rations get a little low, but you manage to keep up pretty well on it. And before you, you can see that the crash site is getting closer and closer and closer as the smoke from it, gets nearer and nearer every day. And one day, while you're making your way across the desert, you hear the sound of hooves and the sound of 50 to 100 feet moving through the area. And off in the distance, Rayrel, you can see a host of humans and orcs marching through the desert, sort of on patrol, as it were.
Like together, humans and orcs.
Together.
Sorry, that's very real. Okay.
And Rayrel's
Okay.
really the only one who can see this. You can see a small blob of things in the distance, but you can't quite make out that it's individuals within it.
Got it.
I relayed that information to everyone. I see the group.
At the lead of it, you note a a large man with the symbol of Rory on his shield and a black horse underneath him. And you can't tell anything about this man, but he's an enormous dude in black armor. And Drew and Patrick and Rayrell, you realize you notice this person, or you recognize them, in that many years ago, all three of you fought in a battle. Well, it was well known that there was a traitor in the Circle of Eight, which was a high-ranking group of wizards in Greyhawk. And this was led by a man named Rory. And Rory had an ace in his sleeve that really helped him, do this betrayal and then escape with relative little harm to him. He had made promises to orcs and, human opportunists as they moved towards the desert. But his ace in his sleeve was this brilliant knight by the name of Sir Robilar, an enormous man and one of the finest warriors ever produced by the city of Greyhawk. And all three of you know that coming across this man who patrols the region would be bad news.
Then hide we will.
We'll try to keep a wide berth, walk around them as best we can.
Mm-hmm. So you remain on the sticks, and another day of journeying passes, and for the most part, you manage to avoid Robilar's company. And then another strange sight comes across you. This one much, much closer to the crash site, in that you see about 15 hooded figures sort of making their way across the desert. Much like you, they seem to be trying to avoid attracting attention to themselves. But with your small party and relative small footstep, they don't notice you either. And you get the first notice here. They seem small though. They aren't humans and they aren't orcs. They're just 15 cloaked individuals making their way across. Whatever the group, they seem haggard. And, as you start to come down to camp for the night, you notice that their camp is not too far from yours, and they didn't even notice you. Wherever they are, they're not used to this region. Do you folks engage or leave them be?
I mean, considering the one other group we've interacted with tried to kill me with the spider, I think we'll keep a distance.
Okay.
Yes, I seem to remember we're supposed to.
Does it look like they're
for sneaking in and out easily?
Yeah. Does it look like they're shadowing Robilar?
No, they do not seem to even notice his presence, and if anything, they seem to be heading in the opposite direction to Robilar.
Okay.
So they're not heading towards the comet?
They are not heading towards the comet, no.
Huh.
Can you describe what they're wearing if we can see it again, madam?
For the most part, they seem to keep to wearing heavy black robes that definitely do not seem to be a good fit for the region. These are very warm garments and are better fit for colder conditions.
Small, tall, these creatures?
They are small. they, they are 4 feet tall. They could be dwarves, they could be halflings, they could be gnomes, they could be goblins, kobolds, They're definitely not of the taller folk.
Indeed. They're Jawas.
I mean, they do give you a slight Jawa vibe, but unlike Jawas, they do not seem to be well adjusted to the environment.
Um. Well, if they're heading away from where we're going, and they're ill suited for the travel, I think Rayrell's gonna cautiously and just she's gonna approach and say, hail travelers.
So
Are you in need of any assistance?
there's like an audible gasp from this small crowd as you come in. They sort of back away a little bit from the sort of pitiful campfire that they set up, and a figure with a heavy knotted root cane sort of shambles their way over to you and pulls back their hood, and this is a kind of person you haven't seen before. These are Sverfneblin, deep gnomes.
Huh.
And this
Out
one
on the top slope.
and this one seems to be especially haggard. He says, yes, we could use some assistance. Who are you?
I am Rayrell.
You are Ray.
And yes.
And these
And,
two?
well, this is Soren, and then this is Drew.
He looks at Soren. Drew? And he points to Drew. Soren. Got it. Well, Miss Rayrell, there is quite a thing you could do for us. We were attacked, and our numbers cut into only a fifth of what they are now.
Oh my.
Tell me, we are unfamiliar with these lads. Do you know a place that would be friendly to gnomes anywhere around here? It seems to be filled with only the most unsavory of sort. We have wounded and such that need attending to.
Well, the only town I know of close by is Hardby. However, they're not really friendly at the moment to outside.
Hmm.
Perhaps we can help with some of your injuries?
Yes, if you could
And
help with that, and perhaps we could trade food and other small trinkets in the meantime.
okay, Rerel's gonna take a sprig of berries and cast good berry and offer
Mm-hmm.
the branch to the gnome.
Thank you very much. I'm familiar with this.
These should help.
I'm familiar with this spell. We had one of our own who could cast it. They're probably dead now. It's unfortunate that. And he shrugs a little bit noncommittally and gives the good berry branch to one of their fellows who gets about sort of tending to the others. So what does a elf and 2 men have to do out in this desert?
merely on a quest of our own that we can't divulge information of.
Mm-hmm. Soren, and he points to Drew. Why are you out here? The
Go ahead, Soren.
silent type. I know of them. He points to Soren and he says, Drew, why are you out here then?
Oh, some holy quest, something with a god. I think that's my general gist.
You're so far from wherever your probable home is, and you don't even know why you're out here. You'd make a good gnome. Heed my tale that I will tell of you. There are things going on in the Underdark that will soon affect the surface. And so stay careful, alright?
Of course.
If there's anything we can provide to you, simply let us know. And with that, he sort of stops paying as close attention to you.
Well, it seems we're more of use to you. I'm honestly just here to help, not asking for anything in return.
How generous. We could use more of your kind. What?
What caused you all to leave your homes?
Illithids. Strange thing, that. Oh,
We recently ran into some illithids ourselves.
interesting. Normally, they're right bastards, but as long as you leave them be, they're good enough to you. Stay out of their way, and they'll stay out of yours. Unless, they see someone they particularly want to eat the brains of. But lately they've gotten far more aggressive. I cannot explain why. But out of the blue one day they send a massive host of enslaved beings and even a few of their own kin into one of our cities, slaughter the lot, and send us floundering to wherever the wind may take us. We figure the beings, we don't like the light, but they are absolutely harmed by it, and so we thought it better to take a risk out here. A small host of some of our best warriors and, our women and children and young folk fled the underground. We come up here, and who is yet to greet us but a man in black armor, who then, in order for the women and children and the infirm to get away, requires us to sacrifice practically all of our warriors and all of our spellcasters. Gnomes don't have a lot of warriors and spellcasters. We're not really a blade-toting bunch. And so this has left us, of course, in a bit of the vulnerable situation you see us in, and he, kind of half-jokingly, sort of in a melancholy way gestures to his contemporaries.
We know of the man you speak. We've faced him in the past. He is quite the ass. Put it lightly.
Asshole, you say? Is that his name?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting. We'll keep that in note for the future.
Keep firing, assholes.
Obviously, this guy knows he's not called asshole, but he's playing along. Let us not bother you any further. You've done us well.
I wish you safe travels, and I hope you find refuge.
We will head east. Far, far into the east. For I feel there is no one there who will find us. Those lands are untamed from what I've heard.
They're quite wild, speaking from experience.
And with that, he sort of bows and goes back to tending after his own people. And, soon after, the next morning comes, and before you can even, tell, they're gone. They likely left sometime during the night when it's more comfortable for them to travel. And now,
All right.
you folk are only half a day's travel from the crash site, and you can see it coming up on the horizon.
We're almost there.
Anything to note before you get going?
I think Rayrell's gonna just prepare some good berries, just in case.
That is a trick that would have come in very handy when you folk were starving back in Aboral's, and
I just figured it out. I just figured it out.
Dang it.
Soren is just drinking wine and watching Rayrell a bit, but then also watching Drew go through his morning rituals. Just kind of all the different blessings and prayers that he tries to that it looks like he bestows on himself, just observing the mannerisms of them.
So, Drew, how are you doing?
Drew is well. Drew is starting to learn that his compatriots can take care of themselves and aren't children, so to speak.
I am way older than you.
Yes,
if anything, you are babies.
Yes, but he's thinking in terms of fighting and how to dispatch bad guys. And Drew is very happy with these two. And you see that he is very diligent, being a priest and a warrior and a former soldier of note. So everything he does is very regimented in the morning.
Rayrell, you feel something heavy in your bag as you get ready to leave for the day. A little heavier than usual. And upon inspection, it looks like the Sverfneblin sort of left you a present as they were leaving. There's a little casket of wine with the words, basically mushroom brew on it. And it was left in your bag, and it's heavy, but not too much so. And the liquid is a strange sort of yellow-green.
Well, I suppose we could use this for celebration upon completing our task.
So, you begin to make your way towards the crash site, and the crash site is there's this ring of, sort of high rocky hills that ring the entire area. And as you make your way over the cusp of them, you see the sort of crash site splayed out before you. So the first thing is that, there is a sort of, a crater, a giant hole in the ground. Not hole, but, a disc-shaped divot in the ground. Probably half a mile across. It's absolutely enormous. And ringing the entire thing is a small, ramshackle stone wall that has been quickly built to sort of guard the area. And what appears to be magically raised stone, not like floating, but like a plateau area that was created, is housing a large camp, and they seem to be eagerly flying the banners of Robilar and Rari over it. But the most interesting thing about this crash site is is the meteor itself, because it's not a meteor. Instead, before you, you see this vast three-masted galleon with a bronze hull, resting half nose or part of the nose of the galleon buried deep in the sand. And you notice on the sides of it, it has what appears to be like the fins of a fish attached to the hull near the back. And it's covered in strange devices that you can't quite recognize. And it seems as though it's being heavily guarded right now from all around by Robilar's troops. Though Robilar himself does not seem to be present right now. So,
It's a ship.
what do you do?
It's one hell of a ship.
And he's here.
Okay, so help me understand. Is this a ship buried in the sand?
It's not too buried. It's only the very tip of the nose is buried in it.
But it's in the sand. There's a boat in the desert.
Yes.
A boat with a whole bunch of like accessories, like weird fins and devices and stuff on it. And it's Soren is like entranced, just like mouth agape, staring at it. This is the coolest ship he's ever seen.
True, but
Wow.
so are any of your characters, what do they do? Since they were obviously expecting a meteorite of some sort, what do they take from this? That one, they're going to have to deal with a fortress of Robilar's own creation, and two, it's not even a meteor that they were looking for.
Well, I was not expecting a ship.
Either was I.
How, is this what fell from the sky? And what does Robilar want to do with a ship?
I mean, if this ship fell from the sky, who wouldn't want? Can you imagine?
That's fair. That's fair.
I want it.
Of course you do. Should we devise a plan if we're gonna approach? Because we just can't walk in there.
I think we should take some time and evaluate their defenses and see if they have a watch posted and make ourselves available to go.
Drew, what exactly were our instructions from your church again when we thought this was a meteor?
Our instructions were to evaluate what we find and report on it. And
Okay.
if so, try to bring something back so that they can get a better grasp of what this actually was. And so initially, as you thought as well, I thought perhaps it would be a part of a rock or part of a something, but not part of a ship in the middle of the desert.
Well, we can't let him have it. Who knows what he'll do with it? No good can come of this army getting a hold of this ship.
Okay.
So we are just the three of us. We can't take on their entire company. But maybe we can make things difficult for them.
Guerrilla tactics, if you.
DM, does it look like they're simply guarding the boat? Do we see people going in and out of it?
They seem to be firmly staying away from it for right now.
Ooh.
Why are they so far away from it? It's
There's soldiers all about the ship, but none on it.
Mhm.
Um,
If we had this, wouldn't you all be on it? Wouldn't you be digging into whatever this is?
And I turn and look and say, ah,
Hi, so folks, I'm offering you a very rough image of essentially what it looks like.
okay.
So you have the hill that you're on, you have the palisade, a camp, a ramp down, the ship itself, and then the sheer wall of the crater, and then more walls ringing around the entire circumference of the crater. So that's basically what it's looking like right now.
Okay. Hmm. There's no real way around it from what we can see. Like, it's guarded and all. Like, for the perimeter, it's all guarded.
It seems pretty well guarded, yes.
Alright. We need to get in there somehow. But we can't take all of them on.
Sometime in the evening, perhaps we should try to sneak in.
That could work.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could try to spend this day keeping tab on their routine. And perhaps we can find an opening.
Ah, now you think like a soldier. I think we should look for patterns in their troop placements and their guards and watch. And we give it a couple of days and see where we most likely would be able to get on board.
Okay.
Or, alternatively, if we keep an eye out for any soldiers that are venturing out alone or in small groups, anybody that we may be able to quietly subdue and steal uniforms for, it wouldn't matter if we were seen approaching the ship.
We can do both.
I think one is opportunity and one is planned, and I think they both have merit.
Do we see, DM, do we see any civilians in this, kind of looking further away from the boat? Do we see any civilians or prisoners in the camp? I mean,
Um.
we're not the only one. We're not the only ones that were coming for this thing.
Hmm. You you note that you see about 4 prisoners during one of the days of your observations, but it seems that you are either the first or one of the first parties to arrive, or you might not be the first parties to arrive, and just instead of being taken prisoner, any party that arrived was quite effectively murdered.
Wow.
So, from what you can all tell, 4 prisoners is about the extent of what you've seen.
Okay.
Other things that you observe while making observations of the camp is that you tend to see a lot of the soldiers uh, more than once. In that, like, they seem to be very short-staffed comparative to what they've created, and so they are running with very few, uh, you know, sword arms there.
Well, that's something in our favor. Not as many soldiers as we once thought.
Um, one of the days of your observation, you note that Robilar and his party return, but that they leave soon afterwards. And yeah, for the most part, it's a very skeleton crew. It's as though, Robilar's already stretching his forces quite thin, and this is as few as he can spare, even for a prize as valuable as this.
All right. Maybe we'll have a better chance once we get inside if things go tits up.
agree.
So I guess we wait for an opening and we go in at night.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay. So, you've been observing for a few days now,
Mm-hmm.
and finally, the day comes for you to make your move. And at the changing of the guards, you see an opportunity before you. So, do you approach from the south, which is where the camp is, the north, the east, or the west?
We certainly don't want to come from the hill because then they'll see us and have like a tactical advantage against us. So I guess we'll come in from one of the sides.
Coming from the direction of the camp just seems like there's a lot of. It seems like it would be more heavily populated.
Yeah.
And as the day goes on, or as the night goes on, you seem to strike gold with the perfect opportunity coming up before you. A sandstorm passes through the area, and the entire area is like deeply obscured in a blanket of, orange sand. As the darkness of the night and the clouds of the stinging sand prevent anyone from seeing much farther than 30 feet up in front of them. So what is your plan?
Should be approached from this ship. Gives us less distance to have to cover once we make our way in.
Yeah.
I agree.
So the closest side to where the ship is where the enemy camp is set up. So if you make your way through the enemy camp, that's the fastest way to the ship, and you don't have to deal with the sheer cliffs of the crater.
We'll just cautiously make our way through. Should we tie ourselves to each other so we don't lose each other in the sandstorm?
Patrick,
It seems a bit clunky. It seems like it may limit our. If we need to quickly hide, that may limit us a bit.
Okay, that's fair. Alright.
On the bright
So,
side, in terms of finding each other, we tend to stand out amongst this group.
yeah. So we'll just cautiously make our way to the ship.
Mm-hmm. So, how do you get over the wall? It's about 15 feet. It's pretty shoddily constructed, like just quickly stacked sandstone. So it's climbable. It can be broken through. Any way you want to go about this is probably a viable method.
I think Rayrell's gonna climb up first, and then she'll send down a rope to the other two.
Okay. Let's give me an acrobatics.
Okay. 16?
Okay. So it's not a fun time, and the stinging sand is burning your eyes as you make your way up it. But throughout it all, you do manage to get on top, and with your help, the others are not far behind. So now you're on top of the wall. All that is before you is the storm, or not the storm, the camp of Ravelar's stretched out forces. So how do you go about it?
Climb down carefully, and then we'll just weave our way through the camp, avoiding people.
So most mostly seems to be in tight columns, and there seems to be either an orcish or a human soldier watching each of the 5 columns of tents. Each of them, from what you can tell, is armed with a crossbow and is keeping tight vigilance. These aren't Hardbee guards, these are well-paid soldiers, and they are watching.
Right.
And so, if all of you would like to make a stealth check, you can try to sneak past if that's your plan.
I'm going to stealth.
I rolled a natural 1 on my stealth check, so it's actually 0. So I think I've got symbols, and I'm walking around like it's a halftime parade right
No, I have a good idea.
Okay, so I rolled a 19 for stealth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and yourself?
I actually rolled
Not bad.
What was that?
22.
Okay,
I rolled a 19. Goddamn.
so here, I'm going to boot up Roll20 again, although it glitches out a little strange on my computer. I think yes, I'd like to create a quick little map. Okay, so you can see sort of a patchwork construction of buildings before you. And then let's see, everyone can see this? Yes, everyone can see
Yep.
this. Excellent. So let's get you folk a bard for Drew. Or not Drew, Soren. Mm. I know that Soren is technically a sorcerer, but he gives off strong bard vibes, you know?
Yep, that was in the notes.
Mm-hmm. What was in the notes? The strong bard vibes?
Just how he presents himself.
Mm-hmm. Thick bard energy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you know, that you actually, here's what I'm going to say, is you managed to get through the camp with no trouble, but once you get up to the little, you know, ramshackle keep that was made as a temporary measure, and right as you're about to leave the camp, you stumble over one of the pitches, you know, the little things that keeps the tent in place, and basically cause one to collapse. And this obviously immediately alerts all the soldiers in the area, and they're dispatched, they're running about, but you manage to get to the little stonework keep that sits between you and the ship. And so now you have an area in front of you, and soldiers dispatched throughout it, and you're unsure what to do. Once you reach the other side to the south, you will have reached the ship.
Okay. Well, I want to continue moving.
It's as we start, because it looks like we can start kind of weaving our way through this stone structure, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to, before we head in, I'd like to use minor illusion to throw some distracting noise kind of on the exterior of it to maybe lead some guards away from the direction
so like
we're
out
heading.
here somewhere.
Yeah, and it could be it's gonna just sound like somebody coughing and hacking. It's just gonna be the sound of somebody with like a really bad cold.
Okay. So you make that, and you hear boots moving, and you hear people moving away, and you think you might have lured a few away, yes. So, do you head east, do you head west, or do you head south further into the keep?
South? We're heading towards the ship, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you make your way this way. the guards who've noted Soren's coughing sound are heading this way, and then other guards are moving about in here, and I have another screen open where I'm moving them right now. So now, here is what is arrayed before you. Which way do you go?
Guess we're gonna just keep going.
Okay. This
towards
way,
the shed.
this way, here, here.
Probably keeping close to that wall, then like looping around to that circular area because I see a break in the wall.
Okay.
Towards the south.
Okay, so you folks are staying along the wall.
Yeah.
Got it. So now walking with my things. Yep. Okay. So now you peek out and you can see that there are several orc and human soldiers sort of stood about. And then right past that, you can see the little gangplank they've set up on their little plateau that leads onto the ship. So if you make it past this, that's all that's left. So
I guess we just make our way towards the gangplank.
Well, if you cross through, they are almost certain to see you. So
Okay.
how do you go about this?
I'll turn to Rayrel. I'll say, I've got my noise tricks and all of that, but it's beyond that. Would you rather try and take someone out silently or continue sneaking in such a manner?
We can try the sound tricks first, because once I get a shot off, they'll know we're here if I can't take them out right away. So perhaps if we just direct their attention somewhere else and give us enough time to slip through. Would that work for you?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to keep doing it. I'm not sure how long they'll continue to hold their attention, but
we can try.
Safe plan this out.
If we were to kind of advance down and maybe around that curved tower to the right, I could try and throw some more noise almost kind of between that array of guards, kind of attracting their attention to the left.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
What's a good distracting sound? Let's do a minute of a baby crying. Let's do that.
Okay. And so,
something that they'll physically investigate.
How are you casting it and where on this?
So, Minor Illusion is nice in that it is somatic and material with no verbal components, so I don't have to make any noise to do it.
Do you have the material?
I've got an arcane focus.
Oh, okay. We're good then.
With the crystal. I'd like to cast it kind of just looking at the screen you've got up towards like the bottom left.
Bottom left. Okay.
Yeah, because there's that circular tower there, and I'd like to have us kind of circle around to the right of it, follow the base. So I'd like that guard looking off to the left.
So, some information is you can tell there's another person in this drum tower, but as you make the sound, it distracts other guards, but this one stays completely put, as though he was directly assigned to stay there. Others do get distracted and investigate, however.
Okay. So, where the two guards on the circular tower thingy are, like, that's where the gangplank is?
The gangplank is at the southmost point of the map, right around here.
Okay. Oh, there?
Mm. So once you make it to the
Okay.
bottom of this map, you will be free.
Okay. Well, let's see. Maybe we can stealth to this other circular area, like this kind of between the two guards,
You mean
and just kind of like
this. Yes?
I
This?
like the little circular part right below that, like right
No,
by
like here.
yeah,
Okay.
like probably like yeah, right in there we can like duck down and
Okay. Alright, each of you give me 2 stealth checks then, if that's the move you're making.
okay.
Good lord.
Oh,
Oh jeez.
wrong.
Okay, so I have 120 and then I have an 8.
Okay.
Ooh, I too have a natural 20 and then a 10.
I have a dirty 20 and an 18.
Okay. So, this one guard does notice you, and he does start to come over. He does seem to be on his own, at least, so you have that advantage on you. Um, what do you do about him? He's coming over, and he's going to notice you if you don't act.
I'm gonna
Like, do we try and take him out silently? Or,
yeah, I'm gonna shoot my longbow
Okay.
and just
Alright,
hope
so
that takes him out.
taking him by surprise, you get out a shot from your longbow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say you hit because, you've taken him completely by surprise and no one would have a chance to dodge from that. So give me
Yeah.
damage.
Okay. 6
6 is total or...
total.
Okay. So... You get him and he stumbles and he's on the ground for a second. And he's
Sore.
bleeding. And you have one last chance to act before he notices you. What do you do? He hasn't managed to say anything just yet.
Drew would like to cast the fire at his face.
Okay.
It's,
Just keep him from speaking.
Okay.
yeah, Soren he'd been trying to hold off on any spells that required him to speak, but if this guy's standing up, he's about to throw something at him.
So the soldier on the ground gets a saving throw versus dexterity saving throw at disadvantage.
Mm-hmm. Alright.
If he fails,
Oh, he failed, don't worry.
okay, he'll take 6 points of damage.
Okay.
Fire damage to them.
So, Rayrel knocks him down, and then Drew, you take him out. And silently, you have managed to eliminate this guardsman. But the guardsman from the other tower, or at least what you thought was a guardsman, is yelling help, help out to you people. Not at the guardsman,
To us?
but at you two, or at you three. And luckily, the sound of the sandstorm is managing to blur out most of it. Drew, you
I'll
can...
sprint over.
Okay.
I'll sprint.
Okay, you make your way over quickly.
Yeah.
You haven't been noticed yet.
If Drew is going to this person, I'm gonna throw a voice. If I can see this person up at the top of the tower.
This is just like a little hollowed out tower. There's no top floor to this.
I'll use minor illusion again, and just to throw a sound of, not a continuous sound this time, but a shh, we're coming. Just as a method to communicate.
Do you have the spell slots for that? Huh.
Minor illusion is a cantrip.
Oh wow, that's a neat little cantrip, huh? Okay, cool. So you...
The sounds and images only last for a minute, or you can just do them instantaneous. But and there's limits to them too.
Yes,
Obviously.
of course. So you send out your little sound, and you seem to be, for the most part, left alone for now. Drew, you're next to this supposed guard who is in manacles and wearing very fine clothing. It's a woman, an older tiefling woman, and she says, "Who are you?
Keep your voice down.
Who are you?"
We are here. We've been sent here to investigate what this is all about. I think the more important question is, why are you here and why are you in chains?
Me? I was captured by Robolar. I'm the
For what?
despotrix of Hardby.
Indeed. We've heard of you. We heard that you were taken. And I'm gonna wave my compatriots over, like, in a hurried fashion, shield, like waving my shield. Come, come, come.
Okay. I head over.
So the sandstorm's intensifying, so for the most part, you seem to be in your own little quiet bubble right now in this drum tower.
This is the Lady of Hardby we heard about that was taken. We need to free her from her shackles and get her to Hardby immediately.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I offer the lady some good berries to help with the arrows I stuck her with.
Mm-hmm. And she takes one, and injured but mostly placated, she eats up, and she's like, and you need not feed me. Robla surprisingly is a decent captor. He feeds us and keeps me well.
Well, the cat's out of the bag regardless. If
Mm-hmm.
they find the dead guard, and if they know that you're missing, they will search for you.
Yes. On that note, this conversation is best served for later. Get her out of her chains. Then we're losing time for the boat. And
Mm-hmm.
Soren kind of he's about to like run out while you're he's like obsessed with seeing this boat at this point.
So he managed to get the manacles off her. Her hands look a little red around the wrists, but for the most part, she seems fine. It's like, all right, then where to?
You tell us. We need to return you to what you came.
Listen,
That's the.
I've been watching that ship. They will not approach it. We will be safe there. I do not know why they refuse to approach it, but we will be safe there.
The ship
That's
that.
all I need to hear.
Then let's go.
I'll give the lady the light crossbow that I carry just as a way to defend herself, and then I'm booking it.
Yeah.
So
Let's go.
As you get towards the gangplank, you can start to hear bells ringing in the camp and people getting at arms, and then but by the time they've noticed, they see you and they notice you and they call out to it, but by the time that they can do anything about it, you're on the ship, and I'm guessing you removed the gangplank that is set up to get onto it.
Yes.
So, you're on the hull, and it's this gleaming bronze hull, and there are small devices on the sides of the ship that look like little cannonettes, and then there are four sails, there's rigging to get up to a crow's nest, and then there's two ways to get to the below decks. There is a staircase that leads directly below decks, and then there is two doorways that lead into a room of unknown origin, or not origin, but unknown purpose. So, what do you do?
I know this is a weird wonky ship that came from the sky, but
Mhm.
just based off of my time living most of my life on boats, do I have an inkling of where I think like a captain's quarters might be?
A captain's quarters will likely be in that raised area, either on the top floor or the second to top floor.
I think
So,
that's where we'll
at the
find
very back
something
on
useful.
either the top or the second floor.
I'll point in that direction and say, "That's if this place is a ship and has a captain, that's where we'll find something of value."
Mm-hmm. So, you make your way, at least Soren does. I don't know if you two follow him.
Oh yeah, he's kind of manic at this point.
Mhm.
If
So-
you guys, he's walking and not really paying attention if you get followed.
So Soren bolts into the top floor room, and Soren, inside is not a captain's quarters. You remember the strange piping and odd machinery that you saw in the Illithid base? It's like that, but it doesn't feel so scary. It Instead of being an oily black metal, it's made out of this gleaming, like chrome-like material, and there's some sort of powerful engine, maybe an engine, before you. And then, affixed to the wall, there's the strangest sight of all. A perfectly 3 foot by 3 foot cube sort of latched to the wall and set in place. And next to it are 2 foot by 2 foot orbs, four of them also latched into place on the wall, each with sort of strange carvings and strange shapes built into them. What do you do? And then there's also a staircase to lower decks.
I think I'm just transfixed at this point. I'm running my hand over all the different chrome parts
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not used to. If there's something that looks like a power source, I'm just like
Mm-hmm.
poking, like rubbing all over it, looking for any kind of way to interact with it.
So one thing you notice is set by the engine, there is a very fabulously well polished and very comfy looking oak chair and metal tendrils from the machine sort of attach into it.
Yep, I'm not sitting in it, but I'm kind of approaching it, just again, feeling the hard wood,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of with a sense of reverence.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to figure out what I'm looking at here.
Okay. While Soren is going absolutely mental, Rayrel, Drew, what do you do? The Lady of Heartbeat is sort of ducking into the siding of the ship and keeping watch, sort of like a gunner does, with her crossbow.
Okay. Well, if it came from the sky,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps we can get it back into the sky
Mm-hmm.
and get, like, what better way to bring back something to the temple than to bring the entire ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Rayrell's going to start looking for a way to get the ship going.
Okay. There doesn't seem to be anything on the top deck that seems to be able to do that, but
Okay.
there is some stuff the room that Soren fled into seems to be attached to these great metal, like cannon-looking tubes that come out the back of the ship. And, you don't know much about ships, but you know the helmsman is generally towards the back if on any good boat. So this is probably where any starting of this thing would be.
Okay, I want to take a look and see if I can find anything that looks like it could get the ship started.
Okay. So you're
Like a lever,
you're
a
in the room with
button,
Soren?
a dial. Yeah.
No, you see much the same Soren did, the metal chrome machinery that fills up about half the room, the polished oak chair, and the cube and spheres sort of latched into the wall.
I'm going to look at the cube and the spheres and like touch them.
Okay. They seem to respond to touch, but they don't. They're basically chained into the wall with this little mechanism like a seatbelt. But you can see how to undo them. So if that's what you want to do, you can do that.
Yeah, I'll take them out.
Okay. So the cube falls to the floor and it begins to shake. And before your very eyes, a most interesting sight has appeared before you. 2 eyes open on the cube, and it grows metal arms and legs and stands up. And it says, "We have been waiting. What are our orders, Commander?"
Get this ship skyward.
"Yes, Commander. Where is the helmsman?"
I point to Soren.
And so this
Because he's
cube,
the only one.
this cube walks over to Soren and grabs his wrist. "We need you to sit upon the jamming."
I think that's the chair, Soren.
Sure.
And it sits you down in the chair, and it then goes over to the spheres, touches each of them, and they grow a singular eye and arms as well. And it says, "2 stations, we need to begin takeoff procedures." And they all say, "We need to begin takeoff procedures." And they all go over to the machinery and begin working it. And like clockwork before your very eyes, you can feel it. The ship is moving beneath you. And there's a shaking sound, and as they sit Soren down, you can feel the ship start to move. Soren's hands get a little shaky, and the dust settles and the clouds and sand blow around it. And Drew, from where you're sitting, you look around and the camp is getting smaller beneath you, and the sandstorm's beginning to clear up. And you're going up, and up, and up even further, high, high into the sky, until all the chaos below you is but nothing. The Despotrix seems shocked by what's going on around her, and inside the engine room, the cube says to you, Rayrel, that we have successfully taken off, extending wings. And the 4 spheres, as commanded by the boss, say, "Extending wings." And, oh goodness. No, that was so cool. Okay, and so you can feel the wings extending around you. And you feel the earth shaking, or not the earth shaking, but you feel the ship shaking, and you feel fires, or you see the fires burning at the back of the ship as the engines roar back to life. And you're off. You're in the sky. And the cube bows to Rayrel and says, takeoff complete. Altitude 4,000 feet. Increasing 20 feet every second. We will soon reach orbit. Any further commands? Orbit. Increase above the atmosphere. We are leaving planet Oerth. As commanded.
What?
As commanded. Oerth is being left. Any other commands, madam?
Be within atmosphere, head towards Greyhawk.
Towards the city of Greyhawk. And the spears fiddled with machinery once again. Drew, what do? The entire, world is moving around you. Drew? Drew's awestruck by the situation, and he's clearly been left speechless. The Spotrix comes in and she says, "What have you done?" And before you can answer, the cube creature answers her first. And he says, "We have taken off." And with that, that'll be Beyond Oerth for today.
Oh shit. Oh my god.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good one. Remember, I'm Bardic Stories on Twitter if you want to follow me. That's Liz, that's Patrick, and that's Drew. And we'll be seeing you.